Welcome once again to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, NFL.com, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We're talking Chiefs football. We're talking about an 0-2 football team, but they did play the Eagles much closer than they did in the Super Bowl. So do you feel better or worse after this game? Are the Chiefs actually in danger of missing the playoffs? The odds of an 0-2 team going to the playoffs are pretty low. Is the offensive talent a problem, or is it the scheme? Let's talk about what happened on the interception with Travis Kelce. Was that his fault? Was that Patrick Mahomes' fault? Who are we blaming for on that? Where do you go from here after what was supposedly a must-win game? What's the purpose of the 3-4 shirts that were being worn before the game? Andy Reid going forward on fourth down. Did he get that right? What do we encourage about with the defense? The tush push. Oh, God, yes. We got to talk about the damn tush push. Why wouldn't we be talking about the tush push, right? That's what everybody's talking about. We'll do it here on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Let's talk about it. The Chiefs fall 2017 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you feel better or worse about the Kansas City Chiefs after this game, Sam? Which is it?
I would say slightly worse. The scoring margin compared to the Super Bowl is significantly better, but I just don't know that the feeling coming out of this should be better, because after that Super Bowl, you had an off season to correct some things, but now we're seeing that on the other end of that, they really haven't corrected anything offensively. And I look at the passing game, the running game, the weapons versus options that they have over these next 4 weeks to solve these problems, and I'm just not seeing a lot of answers there. And here's what I'll say is actually the most damning is I was not impressed with the Eagles on Sunday, and they were up 10 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think if the Eagles are talking amongst themselves on Monday after this game in their facility, that Nick Sirianni is probably telling them, guys, that wasn't our A game. And I'm not even sure it was the Eagles' B game. And they, like I said, still up 10 points and still won the game.
Yeah, that's funny. David said pretty much the same thing. At least the Chargers outplayed them. The Eagles had a bad game. The Chief offense looked like it was the 2010 Eagles with Andy Reid. I don't know. I don't remember 2010 how it was with Andy Reid, but point taken. I think it's the exact same thing that Sam was saying there, Jeff. Better or worse? How do you feel about this coming out of it?
I'm surprised that I'm the optimist here. I went better just because I thought defensively they played better, which is something you could hang your hat on. And I know offense is kind of what this team's been mostly about for the last, 7 years. But I think overall you had to feel like, okay, at least the defense showed up and played well. I agree with Sam. I felt like the Eagles didn't play their A game and didn't try to play their A game. I felt like they came into this game feeling like if we don't make a mistake, if we take care of the football, we'll make enough. They can't make enough plays to beat us. It was almost like when you're a kid and you're fighting with your little brother, you just kind of hold his head and the kid's like swinging at you and you just keep holding him off. That's kind of how it felt like the Eagles were operating. I never thought the Eagles were going to lose this game, so I didn't come into this game with any kind of grand illusions about what the Chiefs could be against this team. And so for me, I think at least they know they have something to hang their hat on moving forward. The offense is going to be a problem until Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are back, and even that won't be a complete fix. But I think right now, if they can play to their defense, they have a chance.
You didn't think at 10-10 we were looking at a possibility of a Chiefs victory, Jeff? At that point, you're still.
I felt like the Eagles controlled the game throughout. Even when the Chiefs went up, it felt as if they had to do so much just to be in that position, and that the Eagles weren't doing a whole lot and were still. It was the opposite of last year when you felt like the Chiefs just had to get into a position to win the game and they were going to do it. And here it felt as if they couldn't do anything right to get in that position, even when they got there for a brief period of time, that it wasn't going to happen for them. I mean, I get their legacy and what they've accomplished, but that's not the team that's out there right now.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I really was in a period of hope, not necessarily confidence at that point. I was hoping that the Chiefs were going to find a way, but yeah, I think I said it after the first game. There have been times where they were in a spot at 3-4, a couple of years ago. I felt like there was always more there, right? Like I have real trepidations and real fear. And I know they keep saying, Andy Reid says, oh, it's a good bunch. And, we've got leaders in there. And, Andy Reid also said, oh, I'm not worried about Travis. His numbers will come around. No, they didn't. Chris Jones told us, I'm not worried about the sacks. The numbers will be there in the end. They weren't, right? And they didn't win last year. So I think there is a little bit of this, like it's always happened, so it just will happen. And whether it's a lack of work or just age, that all of them are getting old. Whether it's Andy Reid doesn't have the new scheme, Travis Kelce doesn't have the physical ability, Chris Jones doesn't have the physical ability. Like the one guy who seems to be out there who really makes differences is Patrick Mahomes. And everybody else is, kind of lost. I don't know, Sam, at 10-10, where was your head as far as where the game was going to go?
Well, I mean, so I watched the game from a different perspective. At 10-10, I'm thinking, how am I going to write about this game?
The push is the lead.
It was a rock fight. I mean, this was not an entertaining football game. And, that's been the Chiefs' story for a while now. Like, let's be real about who the Chiefs have been for, the better part of 13 months at least, which is not an entertaining football team to watch. This offensive performance was worse than what we've seen from the Chiefs, but I put this in my post-game column. There's only 3 teams who have not scored 30 points in a game since the start, more than 30s, have not scored at least 31 points in a game since the onset of last year, and the Chiefs are one of those 3. There's only 2 teams that haven't gotten 400 yards in a game. The Chiefs are one of those, or have only done that once, I should say. The Chiefs are one of those teams. Like, this has not been an entertaining football team for a while now. And I think that the Eagles illuminated that. I don't think that they're the first team to expose some things offensively with the Chiefs, but I think because it was so ugly that everything else starts, you start to look at that in that light, which is this has been rough offensively for a little while now.
Are the Chiefs in danger of missing the playoffs, Jeff?
There's a chance. I wouldn't bet on that, but there's a chance. I mean, I went 11-6, and I'm starting to feel like that was pretty high for this.
When you picked 11-6, Jeff, what'd you have them going in the first 4?
I had them. I think I had them 2-2. I felt like I had them 11-6 with the idea they would lose 3 division games, and that somewhere in that Lions, Ravens, Bills, Commanders, they would lose one of those. Yeah. They would probably lose 3 games in that stretch. Texans. Now the Colts are in that mix too now, and so I think that they're still a playoff team to me. But let's not move the goalposts. They're not trying to just be a playoff team. They're trying to win championships. And so They're definitely don't look like a championship team to me right now. Team to me, and that includes division championship. Chargers have a 3-game lead. We'll play 2 games. So, like, where is this heading? Like, this is legitimately, they're talking about potentially being a 5, 6, 7 seed for the first time in the Mahomes era in week 2. I think that's realistic.
All right, so but that's playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. And the history is last year, 9 teams started 0-2, 3 made the playoffs, 33%. Year before, 9 started 0-2, 1 made the playoffs, right? 11%. Collectively over the last 2 years, 22%, 4 of 18. Curtis did a breakdown of the last 10 years of 0-2 teams. And there are 83 teams that have started 0-2. And he started weeding it out to say, okay, there are teams that had won 4 games, 3 games, 4 games, and they start 0-2. What do you expect? But what about the teams that had success? Teams that made the playoffs the year before that started 0-2, there were 18 of them. 4 of them made the playoffs, so 22%, right? Teams that made the divisional round, either by getting the bye week or winning, made it 3 out of 9, right? 9 teams made it after being in the divisional round. 3 of them made the playoffs next year after being 0-2, 33%. Making the conference championship game, 5 teams made the conference championship game, and the next year started 0-2. How many of those 5 do you think made the playoffs? 3. Where it is 60%. Now, made the Super Bowl the year before. 2 teams have made the Super Bowl the year before that then started 0-2. How many of those teams made the playoffs?
Well, I've looked this up. It's the Bengals and Seahawks, so they both made it. Yeah.
It's the Bengals and Seahawks. So, I mean, there is a so Sam, you did the same legwork that Curtis did. I mean, there is a history that if you were pretty good, you got a better chance of getting it going in the right direction.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, Soren. It's not just this wasn't a team like 2 weeks ago where you're saying, can they just make the playoffs?
No, I agree.
You're
But
talking about winning championships, right?
I agree.
Well, to that point, there are 3 teams in the history of the NFL who have started 0-2 and won the Super Bowl, which is not many. I mean, the reality is this is not the best path to do what the Chiefs want to accomplish.
Right.
And there are some numbers out there, some analytical numbers that had the Chiefs' odds of making the playoffs much lower than I expected. For example, the ESPN model has the Chiefs' odds at making the playoffs at 49% right now. They've got their odds of winning the division at 14%. The betting markets are a little bit friendlier for the Chiefs. Depending on the book you're on, it's between 62 and 67% to make the playoffs. But the other end of that is still 33 to 38% that they miss it. And I still think that's high. I think the Chiefs get in the playoffs, but I'll acknowledge some of that I'm banking on the history and what they've done in the past. I do think that experience matters. I do think that Patrick Mahomes' experience matters, that Andy Reid's experience matters. But this is such a tough start to the schedule with the Ravens looming in week 4 and the Lions in week 6. I cannot recall the Chiefs ever playing a bigger regular season game in the first half of the season than they're getting ready to play in New York on Sunday.
Which it topped what? Last week's game against the Eagles, the way that was hyped up?
I'm not saying that because of the drama around it. I'm saying it because the importance of needing a win. I look, we talked about must win last week, and I was very adamant that was not a must win against the Eagles. But you lose to the Giants, I don't know why we would be picking you to beat the Ravens after you've lost the first 3 games and one of them's in New York. And we just gave the stats for 0-2. I don't think we want to be looking up the stats for 0-3 or 0-4.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think, are they in danger of missing the playoffs? Yes, they're in danger of missing the playoffs. Absolutely, they're in danger of missing the playoffs. I think the 67% to make it feels about right. And I think the way they don't get there is there are injuries to come. Where are they going to be?
Yeah.
When Josh Simmons was on the sideline for a minute, I'm like, well, now it's done.
Yeah.
Right? Because even the handful of plays, Jalen Moore was one of his guy was one of the committee that met at Patrick Mahomes in the handful of snaps that Josh Simmons wasn't out there. Simmons is out. That's an issue. If Creed Humphrey goes down, if Chris Jones goes down, even though they're not applying any pressure whatsoever defensively, seemingly right now anyway, I don't see the path to get there. So that's the part that's there. Some of it's just the normal random nature of the NFL and the injuries, but I can't stress it enough. I mean, the division's good. Like, that's part of it. There are not these easy pockets. It used to be where you had Raiders, Chargers, and what have you. You're like, oh, there's a 3-game stretch where they get to fatten the win total, right? But even the Raiders don't look quite like a pushover, right? And the Chargers and Broncos definitely aren't. So the schedule is
the Colts fit into that too.
Yes,
what you just said, yeah. I mean, I think if you try and just come up with the easiest 2-game stretch for the Chiefs, like there's not a situation where they play easy back-to-back games left on the schedule. Because
I was just waiting to hear what were you going to say was the easiest 2-game stretch?
Well, I think you previously would have said Colts Cowboys possibly, but that's traveling to Dallas in a Thanksgiving game, which is one of their, let's face it, the Cowboys haven't played in the Super Bowl in a long time. That has become their Super Bowls is Thanksgiving, and the Colts look better than I think people anticipated. So, I don't know. What do you think is their easiest 2-game stretch?
I think if Jalen Daniels is down, Raiders, Commanders.
But that's like week 8, isn't it?
No,
maybe at Tennessee.
Yeah, it is week 8.
At Tennessee and at home against the Broncos. Maybe that's probably what I would say.
But the Broncos,
that's not a great answer to have. By the way,
there isn't a great answer.
Yeah, but it's funny because I was listening to the radio today, and you were talking to Matt Derrick, who I love Matt, but he was talking about that they could be 0-4 and then just go roll off 12 wins and be 12-5. I'm like, how do they pull that off?
Yeah,
it's like there's no easy path to them, and I think the part of that is just that's kind of the thinking that comes when you watch a great team operate for so long. Okay, well they'll get there. Like I was having a conversation on the radio with St. John. He's just like, well, they thought the Broncos were going to be the biggest challenge to the Chiefs, but it's the Chargers now. And I'm like, I think the Chiefs got to be worried about challenging somebody else right now. Yeah. Like we're just putting them up here on the pedestal and everybody's chasing them. It's like, it doesn't work that way right now. Like they're the worst team in the AFC West right now.
They have the 8th hardest schedule according to the DVOA model, and I think it's harder. I mean, I think in a couple of weeks it'll show that what's left is actually more difficult than that.
Yeah,
the Chargers. I think the Chargers, by the way. Let me make sure I don't get the Chargers and the Broncos backwards, because one of them has the 6th hardest schedule, and one of them has like the Denver has the 6th hardest schedule. The Chargers have the 7th easiest schedule remaining. And like Jeff said, I mean, it's a 2-game lead, but it's really 2.5.
Yeah. They're losing their margin for error. And we've watched the Bengals walk this tightrope and do it. And you mentioned a couple of years ago they did it, and went to the Super Bowl. But it's not the blueprint. We also watched them try to walk that tightrope last year, and they didn't get there.
Cost them, yeah.
So it's not where you want to be. I think that's the easiest and best way to put it. All right. Travis Kelce couldn't haul in one that looked like it was going to be an easy touchdown. This is 2 weeks in a row where he's had some issues down around the goal line. We'll talk about that. Scheme or talent. What's the problem with the offense? You'll hear about it after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. All right, let's talk about the Kelce bobble for the pick. What are we to take away from this, Sam? I mean, Travis Kelce's fault, Patrick Mahomes' fault. Where do you put the blame?
Well, Patrick Mahomes took responsibility for it by saying that, he rushed the throw a little bit. He's got to put it on his body, not his hands. But I need my Hall of Fame tight end to come up with that if I'm Patrick Mahomes. And to me, like, this is bigger than that play. The Chiefs are fighting an uphill battle offensively. And the most notable Travis Kelce images from that game are the drop, yelling on the sideline, and then a moment that didn't make the telecast when Patrick Mahomes overthrew Tyquan Thornton in the fourth quarter. He's yelling in Mahomes' direction there too, and then took himself out of the game. This is a time where the Chiefs need Travis Kelce more than ever. And even if his talent isn't what it was 5 years ago or when he started in the league, it's supposed to be a compliment to him that his leadership isn't what it was 10 years ago either. Like, he's supposed to have grown there. And there's no reason for that to fall off. He can still provide that aspect, and the Chiefs need that now more than they possibly ever have during Travis Kelce's tenure. And so, like, none of us expected Travis Kelce to put up 1,200 yards this year. I mean, Jeff and I in particular, I think were pretty adamant that you can't expect 35-year-old tight ends to have bounce-back seasons. But he can't fall off on that aspect of it. That's where he's got to still be the same guy he's been for the last several years.
I think numerically he's on pace for like 51 for 909 touchdowns. So he's still being productive, but he's missing the opportunity on some of the biggest plays that they need the most. Right. And Jeff, you expect the quarterback, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's got the resume that, he doesn't have to worry about impressing anybody, is going to go and he's going to take that and he's going to put it on himself. That's Travis Kelce's fault. I mean, was it a perfect pass? No. Was there more touch that could have been delivered? Probably. Could he have waited a little bit? I don't know. Maybe. But you're supposed to catch the ones that hit you in the hands. Period. End of discussion. That's your job. Like, I don't know. It's getting old, I think, with the fans already. Travis Kelce barking at people while he's not making all the plays.
Yeah.
When does it start to tear at the team?
Well, I know we'll get to this, but he was also rocking the free 4 shirt too, right?
He got the shirts together. Didn't have his hands together, but he had the shirts ready.
And he was the one who disappeared when Mahomes was out there taking questions about what happened. He was nowhere to be found in the locker room, right?
That's right.
And
he did not. Yeah, he was not available to the media.
And so, to me, when you start talking about leadership, that's part of it too. And I don't want to sit here and say, and people don't want to hear what we have to do with our jobs, but I think it does send a message to your teammates, younger people, guys who aren't necessarily of your caliber, when you're walking out the door after a tough game and a loss.
Well, what it also does, just to your point, Jeff, real quick here, we've all talked to guys when they get out of the game. Right? Yep. When they're done with the game, they're like, yeah, that MFer after every game, oh, good game. He's there to answer all the questions and have all the cameras. But boy, when it doesn't go his way, out he goes. And then I'm sitting there having to answer questions about why we sucked. And this, like, hey, yeah, that guy can, you hear after the fact where guys, once they're out of the game and they've left, they'll tell you what they really think about the guy who's just there for the rose petals and rainbows, but nowhere to be found when we got to sit and answer the questions about it didn't go our way.
Yep. To be clear, Travis Kelce isn't hardly available after the wins either.
Yeah. Which is fine then, but I think you got to be there in that moment.
I do too.
Galvanize your team and stabilize some things. If not him, then who? Who's left? Mahomes and Chris Jones, Nick Bolton. I mean, you got some guys. He's a first ballot Hall of Fame tight end. I got a chance to cover Michael Jordan towards the end of his career, or I think after he came back in retirement. And I went to a Bulls game in Chicago, and I was stunned that he sat in a locker with droves of media. I'm talking hundreds of people in waves waiting to talk to him, fully dressed, answering questions for an hour because he knew I'm Michael Jordan. And I don't even like Michael Jordan, but he was like, this is my job. They're here to see me. I came to perform. I'm the leader on this team. I'm answering all their questions. And it's sent a statement to everybody else in the room. This is how a professional operates. And I love Travis. He's a cool dude. He's done a lot of good stuff in the community. Been a great player. But they need him to be more than just a guy who's going to be 51 and 900 yards this year. If they want to be better than what they are right now, he's got to step up. Not just catch the passes, but be the guy who's, leading this team in the same way the quarterback is.
Yeah, it's is it a lack of focus with Travis Kelce? I mean, is it like, I'm not interested in the game anymore. The game kind of bores me. I've done it for a long time. And, I'm just kind of going through the motions there for the check and to keep the podcast numbers up and all this. But, my mind's really someplace else. I mean, is this how a guy checks out?
He's 36. Like, he's going to be 36 in 2 weeks. Like, I mean, this is more production through 2 weeks than I think you could expect out of a 36-year-old. But I think Travis Kelce is look, it's fine to feel frustrated with the way the offense has been, but you would just think that someone who has the experience he does would try and implement the opposite message with his teammates, which is, okay, what does the next step need to be rather than focusing on the frustrations of the previous play. I know they showed that replay after Patrick Mahomes scored a touchdown, and the amount of questions I had was like, why would he do that after a touchdown? Fox should have cleared that up, that happened a couple plays earlier when they showed his reaction. It was not after the touchdown that he was pissed off. But I'm telling you, like, we've got the all 22 view from the Chiefs press box, and there were multiple times I saw him frustrated on the sideline. I guess it goes back to the original point I made, which is we may not see the numbers from Travis Kelce, but his leadership has got to show up right now.
Yeah, we're not.
And we don't know that it's not behind the scenes, by the way. But I'm just saying, publicly, it hasn't looked great.
Well, and again, this is also pointing too. Once you become an older player, especially someone with his stature now, you ain't hanging with the guys like you were back in the day. Like it used to be, we're going to down the West Island for Halloween. It's me and Mahomes and this lady, and Kareem with his lady, and he was always up in the mix. Now he's like over here, and he's there for the games and the practice. Like I remember a story a guy at the Cowboys told me when Dak Prescott showed up, and Tony Romo was worried about his job. All of a sudden, Tony Romo was throwing barbecues at his house, and someone said, "Hey, you know how many times Tony's had barbecue at his house?" And they were like, "How many?" Like, this is the first one. And all of a sudden now he's worried. He wants people to like him because everybody's hanging out with Dak and Tony's on the outside. That happens as you get older.
You also don't have anything in common with 23 and 24-year-olds anymore. I mean, we all experience. I remember, my whole career, I ran around and did things with my producer, right? Like, oh yeah, because we weren't that far apart in age, or we were the same age, or what have you. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this kid's 14 years younger than me. You don't want to hang out with me and my tired asshole friends. Like, it's like a wake-up call. You're different. You're old, jackass. And they don't want to hang around with you. So, yeah, that connection of, we were together and we hung out and our girls hang out and all this. When I get on you, I love you, brother. Do they know? Have they seen him away from the facility in the last 3 years since Taylor showed up? I mean, I'll bet probably not much.
It reminds me, what Jess just said reminds me of a story that I put in a long feature on Kelce before the season, which is I talked to Anthony Fasano, who was the tight end for Travis Kelce's first 2 years. And he said his second year there, Travis Kelce is a no-show for practice on the day before a game. And coaches are asking around, like, where's Travis? Where's Travis? He says there's an MIA for where is, the third round draft pick. And Anthony Fasano's saying, well, if you check social media, you know where he was going to be. And I said, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, there was a flyer out on social media that Travis Kelce was DJing a party the night before. I knew he wasn't going to be at practice. Like, that was the life that Travis Kelce was. Look, that's a testament to his growth too. But like the Chiefs need the latter stage guy. Like, they need the locker room guy. There's an advantage to being older than everyone else. People should listen to you more.
I will also add a sub layer to that. Knowing people who have done events with Travis Kelce, there's also a chance he didn't show up to that. I mean, it's like, I guarantee he wasn't on time. I'll bet anything I got he wasn't on time to it, especially at that point. But listen, is it a talent or scheme problem with the offense, Jeff? What is it?
I think it's both.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I've been talking to people this week around the league, and they don't see a championship caliber roster right now. They're like, they see some guys with some names, but you start putting them together. And again, now having Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy could help, but like it was clear in that game from the jump that Vic Fangio was like, I don't respect anybody you have out here with Mahomes. I'm blitzing as much as I can. I'm coming after you. I don't think Mahomes has been blitzed that much in the game. Ever, maybe. It just felt like they were coming after him on every play he was dropping back in the first half. And The running game is a disaster. That there's no easy fix for that. That's a running back thing, and a personnel scheme thing, and it's how they run. I mean, that 4th and 1 play they call, we'll get into that later, was just ridiculous. But yeah, I think that it's a combination of both. I think they found themselves in a very difficult place because I think the team they were expecting to have isn't out there. And it's very apparent they didn't really have a plan B. Plan B was just Mahomes just do magical stuff, and it's not working.
Thaddeus said, this is the first year with Coach Reid that I'm scratching my head on what the game plan is. Listen, let's be clear. Sam, they've been in mediocre yardage-wise. This is year 3. I mean, we're not done with the year. They still have a chance to turn things around, but the last 2 years haven't been that good. So this is not something that's new, right? This has been going on for a little bit. They haven't had the answer. And I think the answer usually always is both. Now we can say, all right, which one do you weight it more towards? Scheme or talent? We know they're going to look different with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. But those guys really, it's not like they're working the intermediate stuff. And you talked about that, they're throwing a few long balls, but the intermediate's gone. It's still all the short stuff. They cannot seem to find a way to get the ball 15 yards down the field in the air.
Yeah, when you're playing with only a portion of the field, I mean, playing defense in the NFL suddenly becomes a lot easier. The stat I mentioned on your radio show today was that Patrick Mahomes has attempted the 33rd. With 32 NFL teams, he's attempted the 33rd most intermediate passes in the NFL this year. That's the sandwich between 10 to 19 yards. By the way, Jalen Hurts somehow has 0 intermediate completions this year. It attempts this year, he's 0 for 0 on intermediate throws, but Mahomes has only attempted 6 in 2 games. And like, you can't shrink the defense, the field. You're doing the defense a favor. A couple things to underscore what Jeff said. There used to be a rule in the NFL, don't blitz Patrick Mahomes. He was the least frequently blitzed quarterback in the league. This year, he's 6 of 18 against the blitz. Both numbers should stun people. The completion percentage and the fact that it's been 18 passes against the blitz this year. The other thing I wanted to underscore was the running game. And I also mentioned this stat on your show today, Soren, but Isaiah Pacheco has 15 carries for 47 yards this year. He has faced 0 stacked boxes, 15 carries for 47 yards against run-friendly defenses. There's both going on here, but like when you rewatch the running game through the lens of the film, there's some talent issue going on there, and that should surprise nobody. And it shouldn't surprise the Chiefs either, and it's why all 3 of us consistently said during the offseason, they got to do something at running back. They got to do something at running back. Well, when the defense doesn't respect your running game, never stacks the box against you, except for the 3rd and 4th situations, which is when Kareem Hunt's in the game, when they don't really feel like your tight end is what he once was, when they don't feel like your receivers are what he once was, like this is the result. It's really tough to play quarterback against that type of defense.
How about this, Jeff? Because this is a legit thought to have. Good thing we gave all that money to the line to not win the line of scrimmage, right? Like, and Sam and I
which line? Which line?
Sam and I touched on this today. I mean, it is a very expensive offensive line. I mean, I think somebody's job needs to be on the line here for all the money they poured into that. And I do think the line has been disappointing. But some of that, and Sam mentioned today, going back and looking, that there were maybe some cuts to be made that weren't made by Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, I really believe that Emmitt Smith was like, because I was a big Barry Sanders guy. So I'm like, oh, Emmitt Smith has the best offensive line. Barry Sanders makes it all go. But I always felt from that Cowboys team, like if you have a great offensive line, you're going to have a great back. And then I watched the Chiefs running game suck with Larry Johnson when he came back from injury. And I'm like, this offensive line sucks. And then they put Jamal Charles in and he averaged 7 yards a carry. Like the running back matters, right? The scheme matters. And I am open to the idea that they have good offensive linemen, but they're not being schemed right. I'm open that they got good offensive linemen and the running back blows. I'm also open to the fact that they've disappointed, and I think they have disappointed to a degree. But like schematically, I don't see anything new or creative with the run, and I don't see them doing what other teams do. I'm tired of talking about the fact they never get under center. They don't play action. There are lots of other people in the NFL that are saying that exact same thing now. We've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years, and maybe these other people have as well, but they don't look like the offenses that are effective running the ball, and they've invested 2 seventh-round picks in running backs over the last 5 years. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I would say think about what the Eagles' running game looked like before Saquon Barkley showed up, right? Went to a different level with him. Think about the Ravens running game before Derrick Henry showed up. Went to a different level with him. And these were all good offensive lines, but and not saying they had to go out and get somebody of that caliber. It'd be great if they did, but because those guys were available. But investing in that part of the offense would be huge, just because I think it takes pressure off the quarterback and opens up things in ways that they're not being opened up right now. And look, I have great respect for Andy Reid and Brett Veach and all those guys over there from what they've done over the last 6-7 years. But it is a different game, and the run game is a big part of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, Andy, you don't have all the great ideas. Like, maybe we need to move in this direction because it helps us be better. And this is the price you pay when you decide we're going to be loyal to Isaiah Pacheco and think he can still give us something. They clearly overreached on Kareem Hunt, who I think what they got out of him last year was just a blessing. To go back to that well was crazy. And then you got a third guy you don't even play, Elijah Mitchell. And the fourth guy just looks like a punt returner back there when he's playing. So the rookie, Brashard Smith. So yeah, this is a big. I wouldn't put it all on the line because I do think that they are clearly capable of opening holes because they've done it in the past. They were doing it last year when they had to resort to running the football with Kareem. But this is more of a running back problem to me, that they've ignored this for a long time, and now they're paying the price for it.
Yeah, it is. It's an issue. All right, we'll talk about their choice of T-shirts before the game after you hear from our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. All right, Sam, you wrote an excellent column today about the free 4 shirts, 4 being the number 4, Rashee Rice, and freeing him. At the very least, tone deaf for the big picture of things, and maybe as much as just flat out stupid, and really not the message you want to be sending when you're already a discombobulated football team that doesn't look like you can get out of your own way at times. Why? I mean, and what will come of this, if anything?
I can't answer either one of those two questions because I'm just blown away by it, to be honest. I mean, free him from what? I mean, Soren, you and I chatted with this a little bit today, but he's not Nelson Mandela. I mean, I don't understand why he's this hero to be revered. Andy Reid said it was to show support for a guy that they miss. Vahir Gregorian for the Kansas City Star asked Tyquan Thornton about it after the game. He gave a similar response. We were not able to ask Travis Kelce the justification behind it, but I understand that's their justification, is trying to show support for a teammate, but these guys are NFL players who are frequently in the spotlight. There's one of those players wearing it who has the biggest platform in the NFL. They have to understand it's about more than their rationale. It's about how something comes across. It's about the implications of it. And in a 6-car crash caused by 2 drivers racing, one of them 119 miles an hour down the highway, injuring people. I talked to the lawyer for one of the victims yesterday who said that his client is living, quote, anything but a pain-free life. And the implication is that the driver is getting the raw deal out of this. I mean, 19 months later, one victim is still feeling the ramifications of that decision. Like, I'm okay if the driver misses 6 weeks of football. And the amount of time that needed to go into this decision, I can't believe at no point during that allotted time did somebody say, you know what, this probably won't come across the way we think it's going to come across. This might not be the best idea. The other thing I said to you, Soren, today was they either gave this a second thought or they didn't.
Yeah.
Not giving it a second thought is terrible, but giving it a second thought and still going with this is probably worse.
Yeah.
I mean, neither one's good, but one's worse. Gave it a second thought. You know what? Yeah, thumbs up. Let's do this, guys. Yeah. That's really where you've got shit for brains when you go out there and do it. And I do think it is a little bit of a question of the team discipline, is it not, Jeff? I mean, okay, I got my guys out there, and the leaders in the locker room will take care of it. One of the leaders in the locker room is wearing it. And, and as an organization, I would think that somebody's going down to Andy and going, no, like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Like, we're in the midst of a disappointing season. We're working on a new stadium. We raise tickets every year. We don't need to just poke and prod, people out there. I just, there was no here.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's tone deaf, but like you said, or someone said in the comment section, how could nobody else see that and say, "What are you guys doing? Like, this is a bad look." I get you probably, if you're an underling, you don't want to challenge somebody, but if you're Mark Donovan or Brett Veach or Matt Nagy or somebody, you're just walking around and you see this, you wouldn't say something like, what are you guys doing? You wouldn't have that conversation. Like, Sam's right. It's like, it's why that would be a choice you would make at all. What kind of conversation you would have that would make you feel like this is the best thing to do. And I get, like, if you want to be supportive and say, hey, we miss you, put, hey, we miss you, Rashee on the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Find somebody. So there's a zillion catchphrases you could put on that t-shirt, but you thought you were being cool and being cute. And I agree with you. You look worse now because now it looks like, one, you're tone deaf. Two, you have no compassion for the people who were the real victims here, and you live in a space that you have no way of being in touch with reality. Like, there's no way you could see what he did and be like, hey, let's find a way to endorse this and make him out to be the guy who was wronged here. Like, that's idiocy. And again, for Kelce to be in the middle of all of it, a guy who was very polished and accomplished as a media personality, it's asinine.
I don't want to say that they're without compassion, period, but they were without compassion on this subject.
Yeah.
I mean, there just was no thought for the people that were hurt.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Rashee Rice is a wrongly accused individual. Like, he pled guilty to something that was caught, to 2 felonies, to something that was on video. He literally walked away before knowing if those people had survived. It's miraculous that everyone did survive that. And the implication, like I said, the implication matters. The reasoning matters, but the implication matters too. And the implication is that he should have just walked all together on all of this. And they're probably talking about the suspension. They didn't say that. Yep. Tyquan Thornton didn't say that. Travis Kelce wasn't available to us. But even then, like, what's the message? That he should be absolved from all punishment? I don't understand why.
And you're doing it in a game that was hyped all week, that Fox fluid people to do whatever, the pregame show and the power and light. And it's just, they knew how this would play. They knew they would get a react. This wasn't like, hey, we're doing it against Carolina in week 11 and no one's watching this game. It's like 12 o'clock.
Do you think they knew? I hope they didn't. I hope that somehow they're ignorant on this. And I've talked to enough of the guys who are wearing that. Like, Travis Kelce does a lot of work in the Kansas City community. Hollywood Brown is a good dude to talk to. I don't know Tyquan Thornton that well. He's new to Kansas City. But, good people make bad decisions. And this is a bad decision that should have been given considerable more thought. And I hope they didn't expect this reaction, because if they expected this reaction and still said, you know what, we're fighting back against this, like, look at who you're fighting on behalf of.
And I'll my last point, if anyone wants to chime in, feel free. But my last thought is, shouldn't you be a little pissed that you're struggling, you're losing games, your offense sucks, and this guy's not playing because he's dumb?
Yep.
This guy's not playing because he went out and
drove
recklessly on the highway. I mean, part of being a good teammate, we say it all the time, a big part of your ability is your availability. That's usually used to be, hey, be a tough guy, fight through injuries. But it also means don't be a dumbass and get arrested and get suspended to where we don't have you. He has absolutely let those guys down. And they are not at all looking at it that way. It's almost like, no, you got to get your party on, guys. Like, and if they're going to take your party from you, man, the man's keeping us down. Like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing? You ought to be pissed. It ought to be like, no, you sit in the corner. We're not going to mention you. We're not going to talk about you till you get back. Then we'll welcome you back with open arms. But, like, you're on the beach, sipping cocktails while we're out here getting our ass kicked. Hey, thanks. That to me would be my reaction to it. Was Andy Reid wrong to go for it on fourth down, Sam? The one he missed. He went for it several times. The one he didn't.
No, he wasn't. Like, the analytics slightly favor going for it. I think it's like a 2 percentage point decision, which, look, if you can get a 2% edge in any game, you'll take it. But what's weird is in the aftermath, maybe you have to speak Andy Reid, I think, a little bit here. But to me, he seems to regret going for it based on the result of it. And so I actually think the most concerning thing, if you're a Chiefs fan, is to say, is he going to be dissuaded from future decisions based on the result? Because he shouldn't be. Like, that was the right decision. I really hate complimenting the decision and criticizing the play call when something doesn't work. But I do not understand having your slowest back run across the line of scrimmage to try and get the first down, when Kareem Hunt's biggest strength is just give him the ball and let him move forward, because he does not get pushed backwards. When he's moving sideways, it's kind of easy to get pushed backwards. When he's moving forward, nobody wants to get in front of him. And by the way, he is terrific at it. This is one of the plays that caused me mid-game to sit here and look up play-by-play for the last year. But he's 17 out of 20 on third or fourth and short since he rejoined the Chiefs. 17 out of 20, an 85% play. And instead, you didn't need to fool the defense. All you needed to do was just give it to that guy and let him run straight up the middle.
Well, can I offer up, Jeff, this kind of takes us back a little bit to the scheme thing. They do things just to do something different. But doesn't I go back to what I said about the Xavier Worthy second play of the first game, where he runs back to the quarterback, gets the ball, and then turns around and goes the other way. Well, we haven't shown him that look. Yeah, because it sucks. Because it doesn't do anything. You know what we haven't shown him? Kareem Hunt running horizontal to the line of scrimmage. Let's show him that. Why? It doesn't do anything. Like, it's almost like they're like, okay, we haven't come up with anything new. Let's try this. It looks good on a doodle, but it has no practical application. I'm with Sam. I love the decision, hate the play call thing, because the play call is part of the decision. You have to have a play if you're going to do that. If you look down or your play caller on the headset says, I got nothing, coach, then punt it. Okay. And then figure out why you didn't have something to go to. But that play call did suck. And I think it's the right move, but I don't know, maybe it's not for this offense that's kind of inept.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not every fourth down is made equally. And so I think just because stats say you should go for it, stats don't take into account what you're working with. And my problem with the play call was the play before. You tried to get a yard, and you threw it to Hollywood Brown, who was 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage when he started, and somehow wound up, 3 yards behind when he caught it, and ended up not getting the first down. And so, to me, momentum-wise, that's probably your best third down play with what you had out there. This your best short yardage play in that situation, and the way that game was going, what you had as far as options on your sideline. And so once that play was used up, I felt like you're taking a huge risk here in a game like this where your defense is playing well. You want to keep it tight. They're lucky that the Eagles didn't. They got a field goal out of it. They could have gotten 7 if they were being really aggressive. But ultimately, I didn't think they were prepared to make that make that call in a situation and have it be successful. So I was not surprised with how it turned out because it was going wrong to begin with.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the third down. The thing I didn't like about third down is I'll go back to it. Kareem Hunt, Jeff, you said the stats don't take into account who's available. That should actually be a more benefit for the Chiefs because Kareem Hunt is terrific at this play. He is better than anybody in the league at getting a yard on these plays. So the Chiefs should be more inclined to go for it for that reason. They just turned him into a weird speed back. That play demanded speed, and Kareem Hunt doesn't have it. But I agree with Jeff that there should have been more focus on third down. But the part I noticed about third down is Kareem Hunt was lined up off tackle in the backfield. They're telling the defense ahead of the play, Kareem Hunt's not getting the ball. And if that's true, shouldn't he be at least a decoy at that sense? On third and short, if you're not going to give it to him, shouldn't you at least want the defense thinking you're going to give it to him? It was bizarre to me. I don't understand the advantage of having him lined up off tackle in that shotgun.
That's my whole point. Well, let's do something different just for the sake of doing something different, even though it has no practical application. It has there's nothing that it's going to get done. By the way, we've had some wonderful comments.
Did he hit 15 miles per hour? He did not, and Kareem Hunt has not hit. Kareem Hunt has not hit 15 miles per hour on
about 15
run
feet
this
per
year.
hour. Where's the miles per hour?
It's the very most recent one. Did he hit 15 miles? He did not. I think the Chiefs have hit 15 miles an hour 11 times on a play with the ball because Josh Simmons did it. Josh Simmons ran 18 miles an hour.
How about this? Can Simmons play running back? I mean, the way
maybe
he was the only guy interested in making a tackle after the interception. I got to highlight Joel's too because I like. Passing for half a yard was true innovation.
Well, if they had done it twice, they would have had it on third and one.
There's some quality commentary going on. If you're,
by the way, Josh Simmons thing might be the lead of this podcast if they had come back and won that game.
Yeah, that he saved a touchdown. I mean, getting down the field and the kind of athleticism that he showed in doing it was truly special. Yeah, I agree, man. It was encouraging. All right, speaking of encouragement, we'll let you, Jeff, the defensive captain here of the Red, Gold, and Bold. Tell us what was encouraging about the defense.
I thought they came to play. That they showed some pride. They tackled well. I think they were physical. They gave up some big play. Obviously, the big play to Devontae Smith was huge, and they didn't have a great pass rush. They weren't perfect by any stretch. But when you hold a team that good to, 214, 215 yards, like
216,
that? 216, you should feel good about yourself. And I still feel like the Eagles didn't put out their best offensive strategy, but I felt like they also realized that if the Chiefs were going to win this game, it was going to be their defense making plays and getting long yardage situations and getting after the quarterback. So for me, I thought it was certainly a great step forward because after week one, I was like, they can't cover, they can't rush. At least now they can cover.
But Blake points out, yes, were they elite on Sunday?
Yeah. I think we'll push that conversation into 2026, right? We won't be talking about that anymore the rest of the year.
Oh, I think the defense.
Well, if you could at least say they were elite on Sunday, right?
They weren't rushing the passer that great.
216 yards against the team you picked to win the Super Bowl.
You think that was the best the Eagles could, but they didn't even throw the ball. They threw the ball to AJ Brown beyond 5 yards at all.
Trent McDuffie had him smothered.
That's right.
They could have thrown anytime they wanted to.
Why didn't they?
Because they didn't have to. Sometimes you don't have to do all the things you can. You just play. You do what you have to do to win the game. As Jalen Hurts told Chris Jones at the end of the game, stats don't matter. It's the W.
I do agree, but the recipe for getting consistently getting W's is not winning by 3. That's what we heard all last year about the Chiefs, and that it would catch up to them, and ultimately it did. If the Eagles' plan is to now win everything by 3, I would say they're making a mistake.
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, they should try and score as many points as possible. I think.
But they were up 10 and gave a bone coverage play to Hollywood Brown. I mean, that was If they wanted to really hit the gas on that, they probably could have scored 35 points. If they
Why
wanted.
didn't they?
They didn't have to.
They couldn't is the answer. They couldn't score 35 points in the game.
Come
on. We've got it. I mean, the defense
So
gave up 216 yards.
Yes.
You're telling
We've
me
got to
Justin
give the
Herbert,
defense a lot of credit.
You tell me Justin Herbert and that crew could go up and down the field, and these guys couldn't if they wanted to?
Well, to me, that goes to my answer to this question. The most encouraging thing about the defense is Steve Spagnuolo made all kinds of adjustments after week 1. Shamari Connor played half the amount of snaps in the slot that he did a week earlier. He knew he didn't have a pass rush. He blitzed over half the snaps against Jalen Hurts, who's a quarterback who also isn't blitzed as frequently. He played a rookie at cornerback, Noel Williams, on a lot of third downs. Like, Steve Spagnuolo had a far better game than the Eagles offensive staff did. And it's a reminder that the Chiefs do have an advantage typically when their defensive coordinator is playing against another team's offense. But I mean, look, this is the second time the Chiefs have lost a game giving up fewer than 220 yards since 2009. The other one was Christmas, that Christmas Day game against the Raiders. Like, this was as good as the Chiefs defense has been under Steve Spagnuolo in a one-game sample. This is a defending Super Bowl champion, a team, like I said, that, Jeff, you picked to win the Super Bowl again, 216 yards.
I thought I picked the Bills.
You picked to make the Super Bowl. I think you picked the Eagles, didn't you?
I picked the Bills.
You picked the Bills over the Eagles, though?
Yeah, I picked the Eagles.
They're the favorites, though, right? I mean, they opened the season as the favorites. The Eagles did. Like, this is a really good team, and the Chiefs completely shut them down.
No, don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not diminishing what the Chiefs did. I'm just saying I've seen the Eagles do a lot more offensively, and I think they will. They didn't
agree. That's why the defensive performance was good.
Yeah. I just don't think they had to do that. I think their mindset was, if we don't make a mistake here and give their defense a big play, we're going to be fine, because their offense can't do anything. And teams coach that way sometimes.
Yeah, I do get that. I think you've got to give credit. I mean, the Eagles, they can't be this really good team, but then, like, oh no, they just didn't feel like it today. Like, I'm not buying that. I mean, I think they wanted to score, and I'll add in, the defensive performance is even better when you tack on the fact that the offense gives them no margin.
Yeah,
right? They're having to go out there and play, and the fact that the offense can't score gives the Eagles offense the freedom to say, well, we can kind of do whatever we want because we know they're not going to put points in.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah. I mean, so, but I look at it as they can go balls to the wall. They can air it out if they want to, because if they throw a pick, it doesn't matter. The Chiefs aren't going to put it in. I mean, I think it could cut either way. I mean, I think there's validity in what you're saying, but I think it could also mean that, hey, let's be aggressive. You know, the one thing, like when the offense was truly elite for the Chiefs and they scared people, there was, you know, there was an element of, like, when you got the ball, you needed to get 7, and you're probably more aggressive.
You went for it on fourth down.
Yeah, and threw more and do all that, and at times you maybe self-destructed, and you did it for the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense has to handle everything, because they're not making mistakes against them. They're not just going, oh, we got to try to get to 40. Like, so I think in some ways it's much tougher now to play defense for the Chiefs.
Yeah, let me ask you this. How many yards did Russell Wilson throw for against the Dallas Cowboys defense this weekend?
Well,
450.
How many did Jalen Hurts throw for against that same defense the week before? Like 134. You think that they wanted to throw for 450 against that defense, they could have done it?
No, I don't.
No.
You don't think that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense couldn't have thrown? No. You don't think that offense couldn't have racked up a whole bunch of points against that defense?
Oh, not on this day. Not with that scheme. No.
I don't.
I'm saying they've got the talent to do it. They may not decide to do it, but they certainly have the talent to do it.
Well, I think all playoff teams have the talent to hang 450 on the right day. But no, I think the Chiefs defense had a pretty good plan.
No, I'm saying if you look at the way the Eagles played against the Cowboys, they played the same way against them, which is they didn't have to do a whole bunch of stuff to win the game. They did what they had to do to win. That's the point I'm making. They did what they had to do to win the game. They didn't have to go do crazy stuff. That means the Chiefs didn't play great defense. It just means, trust me, that offense, their talent, if they can score a lot of points, they want to score a lot of points and be wide open.
They might have only thrown the ball for 101 yards. They threw it 22 times. Like, they were still dropping back, trying to make stuff happen. I think this is some gymnastics to somehow try and say that the Chiefs didn't have a great defensive day. I just thought the Chiefs defense was terrific. I mean, we criticized Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson both after that Super Bowl. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were targeted 14 times and got 80 yards out of 14 targets in that game. Like, their defense was – and those guys were left on islands, by the way, all day long because they could not rush the passer without Steve Spagnuolo bringing extra pressure against Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. And of course, Christian Fulton found his way out of the mix, so that put even more pressure on him. So, yeah, I can't help you. That defense was pretty good, and that is a reason for hope.
I was the one who said that. That's why I think I felt better about them.
That's true.
The podcast saying that.
Well, I want you to say elite.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. that will never come out of my mouth with this defense this year.
I love it. I love it. All right, listen, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors like Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Every project comes with a written warranty, nationally recognized paving and pavement maintenance contractor, locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear since 1994. If you own or manage a business, let Gann Asphalt and Concrete fix or build your parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. One contractor, all things parking lot, Gann Asphalt and Concrete, and our friends at Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyer, serving KC for more than 40 years. If you've been injured, whether it's a work accident, a car accident, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT, HURT, to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-HURT. For Jeff Chadiha of the NFL Network, Sam McDowell, the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.